Have you ever wondered why some people can move on from painful moments almost instantly, while others remember them for years? Not just what happened, but the exact words someone said, the look on their face, the silence that followed. It's almost as if their mind quietly records every emotional detail while everyone else forgets and moves on. People often assume this means they overthinking, too emotional, or simply unable to let things go. But psychology suggests something much more interesting. Sometimes remembering isn't about having a better memory. Sometimes it's about experiencing the world more deeply. And for highly sensitive people, that changes everything. Most people think memories are created by repetition. Study something enough times and you'll remember it. But the human brain doesn't just remember information. It remembers emotion. Psychologists have discovered that emotionally meaningful experiences are far more likely to be stored in long-term memory than ordinary ones. In other words, the stronger the emotional experience, the stronger the memory becomes. This is one reason sensitive people often remember moments that others barely notice. To someone else, it was just another conversation. To them, it became a memory they'll carry for years. Now imagine two people walking into the same room. One notices the music, the furniture, the general atmosphere. The other notices something completely different, someone forcing a smile, a slight hesitation before answering a question, the nervous tapping of someone's fingers, the change in a person's voice after hearing a certain name. Sensitive people naturally pay attention to emotional details that many others overlook. Their brains aren't simply recording events, they're recording experiences. And because they're processing more emotional information, they're also creating richer memories. They don't just remember what happened, they remember how it felt. And that's where things become fascinating. Years later, they may not remember what they ate for lunch last Tuesday, but they'll remember exactly how someone made them feel 5 years ago. Not because they are trying to hold on to the memory, but because emotions act like glue for memory. The brain treats emotionally important experiences as valuable information. It stores them carefully, just in case they're needed again. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes perfect sense. If something caused emotional pain once, remembering it might help protect you from experiencing the same pain again. But here's something many people don't realize. Sensitive people don't just remember painful moments. They also remember kindness. Someone who encouraged them. Someone who listened when nobody else did. A genuine compliment. A small act of compassion. Moments that seemed ordinary to someone else can become unforgettable because they carried emotional meaning. Their memory isn't biased toward negativity, it's biased toward significance. Let me ask you something. When you think about your childhood, what comes back first? The events or the emotions? Do you remember what happened? Or do you remember exactly how it made you feel? Let me know in the comments, because many people discover they remember feelings far more vividly than facts. Of course, remembering everything isn't always a gift. Friends often say, just let it go. It happened years ago. Why are you still thinking about it? But for a sensitive person, the memory doesn't feel old. Every time they revisit it, the emotion briefly returns. The brain isn't simply replaying information, it's recreating the emotional experience. That's why certain memories continue feeling alive long after they ended. This is also why sensitive people sometimes replay conversations in their minds, not because they enjoy overthinking, but because their brain is still trying to understand an emotionally important experience. Could I have said something differently? Did they really mean that? What were they actually feeling? These questions aren't signs of weakness. They're signs of a mind searching for meaning. And sometimes, that search goes on longer than they'd like. But here's the hidden strength people rarely talk about. The same mind that remembers emotional pain also develops extraordinary empathy. Because sensitive people remember how words affected them, they become more careful with the words they use. Because they remember what rejection felt like, they're often the first to include someone who's been left out. Because they remember moments of kindness, they become people who naturally offer kindness to others. What looks like emotional vulnerability from the outside often becomes emotional wisdom over time. Perhaps that's why sensitive people experience life differently. They aren't simply remembering more, they're noticing more. feeling more, connecting more. Their memories aren't stronger because something is wrong with them. They're stronger because their experiences are richer. So if you ever wondered why certain moments stay with you, why some words echo in your mind years later, or why you remember emotional details that everyone else seems to forget, maybe it isn't because you are too sensitive. Maybe it isn't because you can't move on. Perhaps your mind simply gives emotional experiences a place they refuse to leave. And while that can sometimes feel heavy, it's also what allows you to appreciate kindness, beauty, and genuine human connection in ways many others never notice. Because sometimes, the people who remember the most are also the people who feel the deepest. If you recognized yourself in this video, let me know in the comments. Explore minds, human quirks, and hidden patterns. Because sometimes, your mind is playing you.